What's going on, family? How is everybody doing? It is the day before a holiday. Those of you who are off, I'm sure you have some libations that you shouldn't have. Anyway, fam, we're going to get into it. Somebody said in the chat, Yvette gets closer and closer to 10 o'clock every night. One time I started the show at 10:10. Did you not notice? But anyway, fam, let's be serious. We have some serious things to talk about. We have some very serious things to talk about. Before we do that, we're going to do what we do every show. We're going to take care of business. Handle business. Handle your affairs. So please hit that like button. Cost you nothing to hit that like button and help us out a minute. What's up, Gannett? I ain't seen you here in a minute. But I can't see it all the time. The chat. Please hit that like button. If you want to donate through Patreon, patreon.com/ycarnell or donatebrown.com. But the like button is absolutely free. Also, subscribe to brown.com. It's absolutely free. Just if you haven't given me your email, I would appreciate it. I don't spam. I don't send out anything on a regular basis. I want it just to have in case whatever. I just want to be able to contact people who watch the show directly. You know what the old people say, directly. I be there directly. So please do that for me. Also, if you have not hit the notifications button, please hit the notifications button. That little bell, right there, that little bell. Give it a tap. So you get notifications when I come on. Please do that for me. I would appreciate it. Tomorrow is a holiday and all that good stuff. It's the 4th. And, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. But we also have to, it's July. So we have to talk about August 1st coming. We're going to do the book club. We're going to do how the Irish became white. So that week we will have a Monday show and a Wednesday show, and Thursday, August 1st, we will do the book club. So if you have not picked it up, it's not a long read. Please pick it up. We're going to have the conversations. Please bookmark if you want to call in. Bookmark it. And make sure that if you call in that day, make sure you talk about the book and you have read the book. If not, I'm hanging up. So just so you know, I don't want no hurt feelings. I just had a question. I just want to ask you, I can't believe she did me like that. I'm ADOS and that. I get it, but the book club day is about the book. And the people I want to talk to are the people who have read the book. So make sure when you call in on that day that you have read the book. That's very, 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 very important. Now, fam, as we get started, it's becoming a little bit more difficult sometimes to frame things because part of what I'm having to do is answer allegations and different things that were made on the web as well. So it's not as easy as it used to be to kind of do a comprehensive show. So I'm going to try to at the beginning of this show, it's not going to be a mailbag necessarily, but it is going to be, let's call it a Twitter bag. Some tweets that I want to go into a little bit further, a little bit deeper. And I'm going to talk about that first. And then we're going to go into an agenda, why we have this agenda, why it's necessary to have a black agenda, why it's necessary to set boundaries in terms of ADOS so we can accurately define ourselves and our agenda. So we're going to get into that. And we're going to get into how the agenda has to be broader than just, I need a Democrat. That's all I want. I just want to get a Democrat in there. That's not defined enough. That's not transformational enough. But the first thing that we're absolutely going to do is just talk about some of this stuff that we saw on the Twitter. So the first thing that we're going to do is have our own kind of, whether you want to call it a little mailbag, a little Twitter bag, a little things that happen in the Twitter sphere that we have to address. Now, I saw, this has been going on. It's been going on with Roland. I saw Eugene Scott of the Washington Post, even though he and I had DM'd, and if he wanted some information, he could have gotten it from me. But he took a email and he said, something like what Roland is saying. Somebody sent him an email and said Kamala has white ancestry, so she's not black. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting for a lot of reasons. See, what you have to understand, family, is that everybody's trying to change the subject. Everybody's trying to change the conversation away from what we're saying to what they want to say. They're kind of straw manning us. So look that up. They're kind of arguing against something that we have not said. So understand that. Understand that. They're trying to compare. They're trying to we're making a very specific case. We're ADOS. We're ADOS, American descendants of slavery, not slaves. Slavery as an institution, that's what we're saying that we are. That's who we are. And we're saying the cost of slavery and the accrued disadvantage that came after that is baked into our lives in a very real way and has been multi-generationally. That's very complex. It's very nuanced. It's not a purity test. Understand that is not a purity test. And so when you have people like Roland, and when you have like the Eugene fellow from the Washington Post is on my Twitter who said that, what you have to understand is why are you bringing up, listen, why are you bringing up somebody who emailed you, a random person who emailed you about Kamala not having white ancestors, and you go online and you say, oh my gosh, look at these people saying that Kamala can't be black because she has white ancestors. Does she not know the history of this country? And I'm lighter skinned than Kamala. I always say that ADOS come from slaves. We descend from slaves and slave masters. What I did, my DNA here showed 36% European. Do I look like the person who would put in place a purity test? Why would I set a trap? Why would I set a trap that I'm going to fall back in? Why would I set a trap for myself? See, what we have to understand is these notions of some type of purity test are ignorant on the face. They make no sense. And they certainly make no sense when you consider that I'm one of the people, and Antonio Moore and I'm one of the people who's making the case. It doesn't make any sense when you consider who I am, what I look like, what my background is in terms of something's in there somewhere. The DNA test told a story, right? Nobody invites me to Thanksgiving dinner, but that's not the point. How could you understand how irresponsible it is to use one email to try to make the case that this is what ADOS is saying. That this person who emailed you is somehow representative of us. There was no black agenda mentioned. There was no reason for why we're carving out this specific space. There was none of that mentioned. So understand on his face, understand how irresponsible it was to even share that on your Twitter timeline. And it's on my timeline if you want to see it. But there's a lot going on in the Twitter sphere. There's a lot going on in the Twitter sphere. There's a lot going on, and we got to talk about it all. We got to talk about everything, because everybody's coming at us in a way to make the conversation be about something that it's not about. To make the conversation be about something that it is absolutely not about. So let me bring this up real quick. On the fly. Because everybody has to recognize this. And when you see that, if the person that you're talking to is in good faith, right? Not bad faith, but the person you're talking to is in good faith, you have to bring that up. You have to bring it up. This is not what our conversation is about. This is not what our conversation is about. And for those of you, and for those people out there who are trying to make this about Brexit, oh my God, ADOS is MAGA. ADOS is Make America Great Again. They're Trumpians. Understand that the biggest, they're Brexit. They're the Candace Owens people. Oh my God. What are you talking about? Because this is what Brexit is saying. Nigerian Americans are the most successful ethnic group in the U.S. If you want to know how it's possible that blacks who come from underdeveloped Africa keep out, that sounds kind of xenophobic, but whatever. Africans keep outperforming blacks from overprivileged America is because they weren't exposed to the democratic parasite of victimhood. Listen, how do you put me in this bag of ignorance? How? We come from chattel slaves. It's not the same as colonialism. We're in the belly of the beast. We're a minority within a white supremacist, a very efficient white supremacist majority, how can you all put me in the bag with the ignorance that we see here? It doesn't make any sense. All of these things you all are trying to do, those of you in the media and those of you who want to undermine us, all the things that you're trying to do don't really make any sense. Because what she says right there is in opposition to everything I've ever said. Absolutely everything I've ever said. So how can you put me in that boat? See, the problem that you folks are having, the problem that a lot of you who are anti-ADOS are having is that your arguments don't make sense. And it's not my fault. Your arguments aren't nuanced enough. How are you going to put me in that bag? She doesn't know enough to have this conversation. She doesn't have it, you know. She's parroting. So instead of fixing ADOS, what happens a lot of the times when we talk about immigration is that you're used to kind of mask our failure and say, well, they did it. Why can't you? They come from a different place. You don't know whether they come from an elite group when they come here, and they don't come here with everything that we have, with all the failure being baked into our communities. That's what it is. But again, this poses a problem for those who are trying to put ADOS in that bag. Another problem that we have when we talk mailbag, and this silliness is going on, that's going on the Twitter sphere. You had Zerlina Maxwell come out and say that like the problem that a lot of black men have with Kamala Harris is that, you know, they have a problem with her white husband and you need therapy. Get off of me. You need therapy. Now here's the problem. First of all, as somebody pointed out rightfully in my thread, black men don't seem too excited about Cory Booker either. And he ain't married to nobody. But there's another part of this that we have talked about on this show. According to a book, according to Obama's, I have the book, Garrow, I think is his name. But according to one of Obama's biographers, right? He broke up with his white girlfriend and dated Michelle because he kind of understood the black community in the sense of there's still a lot of angst, right, in terms of interracial dating. I come on and said, you know, it's not my way to say I don't disagree with it. I'm not opposed to it. Everybody do what they do. I have my caveat that I've discussed on this show in terms of the lopsided balance of power, in terms of you end up being defamed and just being like, well, you know what it is, kind of black person. If you a lot of times don't get to be authentically yourself, but that's not neither here nor there. My issue is this. We've discussed on this show how when people voted for Obama, they voted for a black family. They did not just vote for a black man. They voted for a black family. Now, if you're going to say that the black men who voted, if you're going to say that black men are just anti-woman, you're saying they didn't like Stacey Abrams, and they don't like or whatever, they don't like Kamala Harris, you're going to have to explain to me how they liked Michelle Obama. I did not hear a lot of black men in opposition. But let me say the other side of it, though. The other side of it is this. The other side of it is if Obama had been dating Becky from Topeka as opposed to Michelle from the Chi, I don't think he would have got elected. And I think there are a good many black women who would have had a problem with Becky the wife. I think we have to be honest about that. There are black women who actually voted in a way for Michelle through Obama. And in a lot of ways, this makes sense. Listen, I have gone on record before saying we put too much weight on his family and not nearly enough weight as a group on his policies. I stand by that. We wanted a family picture way too much so that we didn't investigate policies nearly enough. I stand by that. But the problem is also, even after having given that criticism, the problem is also we're part of a group that had families destroyed during slavery. One of the first things people did after slavery was try to find their family that they lost during slavery, right? Brokenness and broken familyness from slavery all the way through mass incarceration is part of our inheritance. You could say it's part of our disinheritance in this country. So even though I know we didn't pay enough attention to his policies, I understand the desire to see a nuclear functional black family in the White House. I would never tell anyone that they need therapy for wanting to do that. I would never diminish anyone in that way, any ADOS person in that way, because I understand where that comes from. And I understand that it goes both ways. We've never been able to be like fully functional black loving people. We haven't had that capacity. We haven't had that ability. That's been robbed from us because we don't have the wealth to be truly American. So we're always scraping and running. We don't have what it takes to do that. So I don't know what you're talking about. Right? It doesn't make any sense. But let me just go to the next thing that I want to address. I think this will probably be the, be the last thing that we can, because, you have to kind of go back and see if the people who made mistakes, if those people came back and they got their stuff right, or if they came back and they're still in the same place. See, this right here didn't work. This right here didn't work. See, this is what Zerlina wrote in 2012, and she's still here in this space. Obama says he's not he's not president of Black America. Turns out he's right. The president's historic win in 2008 was a win for the African American community, but he was not elected to be the next Martin Luther King. From now until November, the president will make the case for why he should remain the president of all Americans. President Obama hopes that African Americans will come along for the ride in numbers matching their enthusiasm from 4 years ago. Here is the problem. Here's the main problem. The problem is sometimes people don't learn. See, that what Obama did was the one, a rising tide lifts all ships. By the way, Obama lifted that from Monday. That didn't come from him. He didn't make that up. That's always been the dodge, right? So you haven't learned that this kind of what you're talking about doesn't make sense too. You haven't like progressed, or maybe being a pundit demands that you don't progress in that way. I don't know. And it's not for me to try to figure that out. But what you're saying is dead wrong in the sense of in the sense of black men are just dysfunctional and need therapy because they don't like Kamala, because actually they don't like Cory Booker either. And like if Obama had been married to a white woman, a lot of black women wouldn't have liked her either. Like that's a thing for us. Interracial dating is a thing in the community, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. And there are a lot of reasons for that. You have to understand that. So as we go forward and go forth, there was another one. Let me see if I have it here. Who said this? Somebody else said something really kind of throwed off. Oh, here it is. I'll take this from Antonio's tweet. It's too much. Somebody on MSNBC, the woman on MSNBC said, I can't even, what's her name? Mara Gay. That black people, our main priority is to get Trump out of here. And I'll read to you Antonio's response, and then I'll give you mine. He said, none of these people speak for Black America, understand what Black voters want said on their behalf. The number one issue for Black voters is not beating Donald Trump. It is a Black economic agenda and reparations for ADOS. Right? Now here's the thing, and Antonio's exactly right in terms of, hold on, let me put this back. In terms of her not speaking for us, right? But there's something else that's also really kind of odd. We just had a whole reparations debate. We just had a whole reparations conversation. How do you pivot from us putting on the platform the most transformational policy for ADOS in generations to you now saying the most important thing for us is to pivot towards getting Donald Trump out of there? Let me tell you what the scam is in that. The scam is in that if we get Donald Trump out of there, the scam is to make black people think we really achieved something. Oh my God, we really got something. We got Donald Trump out of there. That's nothing for you. We have lived a life where we believe that getting a Republican out of office is more important than policies, transformational policies that improve our communities. We believe that just unseating a Republican is more powerful than policies that economically benefit our communities. That is a problem. And what I'm going to do right now is just go through some things. I just want to go through some things and show you. I'm going to show you in 1 second some things that should be more important to us than just unseating Donald Trump. What's more important to us is getting whoever is in office to yield to us. If you get a Democrat in office, that Democrat won't do anything for you, what's the point? If you get a Democrat in office who believes that one tide lifts all ships, what's the point? What's the point of one tide lifting all ships if you riding in a dinghy boat? Little dinghy boat gonna fall in when the tide lifts. Little dinghy boat gonna drown. Little people on the dinghy boat gonna drown too. Sometimes the tide doesn't lift all ships. You ever seen a big tide come in? Sometimes it swamps small boats, people out there on surfboards. It doesn't always lift things. It's one thing we kind of have to understand. But before I go there, I want to talk about urgency, because I saw a lot of people who were at the border talking about the migrant crisis. And I'm not here to tell you that there's not a crisis on the border. I'm not even going to go so far and tell you that politicians shouldn't have gone there. I think we had 8 or 9 politicians there, Congress people there on the border, right? I'm not even going to tell you that they shouldn't have been there. What I'm going to tell you though is that a lot of the people who showed up, like the lady with the hat, what I'm going to tell you is that a lot of these people, when it's a crisis at the border, they show up. But when there is a crisis in our ADOS communities, I don't see them. Certainly not at the level I should see them, given who they are and given the situations in their own communities, right? Because this border facility, I think, is in Texas. So what I want to go through really quickly is just a few. I want to go through just a few things that are more important than unseating a Republican, whether it's Donald Trump or not. Nobody's a fan of Trump, certainly not me, but I am more of a fan of an agenda. So I want to go through a few things that to me are more important than just getting Trump unseated. Because you could get a Democrat in there who doesn't do anything for you. So let's talk about it. Black resistance in Louisiana's Cancer Alley. You know, there's this thing, we talk about environmentalism, but we don't talk much about environmental racism. In Rebeltown, which was founded by freed slaves, a petrochemical company has seized ownership of an ancestral cemetery. But an attack on the dead is an attack on the living. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. This is an environmental attack on our community. And it's not just in one place. Please don't think that this is just happening here. See, because what you have, we just see this. What's going, how I know they're not charging right now. They're not charging those people who did all this stuff. And Snyder was trying to be a fellow at Harvard, and then there was an online push in the Harvard Black Student Association to push against him being there. I know that, but this is a crisis too. It's not at the border, but it's still a crisis. I don't see anybody showing up with bullhorns and cowboy hats. Although she wears a hat everywhere. Why do you wear that hat, child? Everywhere you go? Everywhere you go, it's a different color hat. I'd be tired of your hats. Now understand this. People say, well, they have to go there, Yvette. No. This is Benny Thompson. Benny Thompson is in a district that is 1.2% was it Latino, Hispanic, or whatever. 64%, hold on, let me see. 64% white, I believe. Hold on 1 second. And then this is from Wikipedia. Ethnicity. No. Ethnicity, 35% white, 63% black, 0.4% Asian, 1.2% Hispanic, 0.2% Native American. So he has 1.2% Hispanic, and he's over there talking about the crisis at the border. Majority black. See, we don't demand that people respond to us and our needs. Once again, I'm looking at this, and it says 63% black. What are you doing for your district? And what is your district demanding that you do for them? What? You're there for a photo op? You're there to please Nancy Pelosi to make her happy? You're a good Democrat, right? That's what it takes to be a good Democrat? That's what we've set up for ourselves? That you just have to do stuff that's not necessarily good for you, but it's good for the Democratic Party. It's good for the Democratic agenda. That's the problem. 64% black. You at the border though. Do we all know how poor Mississippi is? Do we not know that? What are you doing there? What about our emergence? How much have you improved the plight and the lives of the people who live in the district that you're supposed to be supporting? And we see it everywhere. Nobody shows up in mass. I didn't see dozens of Congress people, or a dozen or not, show up in Flint recently when they said they were going to drop charges for now, and they may come back to it, to the people who caused the poisoning of majority black people. I didn't see any of that. And it's still ongoing because it's also about health. Let's talk about let's talk about what it means to have lead poisoning. Can we do that? Although lead poisoning is preventable, the neurological and behavioral effects of lead are believed to be irreversible. No level of lead is safe for children. Lead affects children's brain development and results in reduced intelligence quotient, or IQ. It also leads to behavioral changes such as shortening of attention span, restlessness, conduct disorders, aggression, and reduced educational attainment, as shown in What the Eyes Don't See, a book by Mona Hanna Atisha, a physician who helped expose the Flint water crisis. That looks like a crisis to me. I don't see anybody there with bullhorns and a little, all this little stuff you got in front of you, and I don't see you there. Why are you not there? We got a lot of crises going on in our community. What about 56 shot, 4 fatally in Chicago weekend shootings? What about it? That's a crime crisis. See, that right there was a health crisis. This is a crime crisis. What about it? Where is everybody? I'm just trying to figure it out. And you could say there were a bunch of doctors who came together to say a crime crisis is a health crisis because it's not just a bullet. That bullet affects bodies, and you talk about paralysis and everything else. Right? And it's not just there. You all have seen this before. Exxon Mobil. Exxon Mobil is still pumping toxins into black community in Texas 17 years after civil rights complaint. Right? Let's talk a little bit about what they go through. Is that all right? Joseph Gaines was sitting on his porch in the Charlton Pollitt section of Beaumont, Texas, on a recent evening. This was in 2017, in June, sipping beer and chatting with some of his neighbors about the NBA playoffs, when a loud boom cut through the night, and a stream of fire lit up the sky. A few minutes later, a strong, unpleasant odor settled over the street. As soon as they smelled it, the men stopped arguing about LeBron James, left the porch, covering their mouths and noses, and hurried into their homes. Now, before all of you who are black respectability, this man does work a job. He can be outside talking about, after his job, be outside talking about whatever he want to talk about. Well, see, they just probably on the street. No, I'm telling you, this is what it is. Now, as unsettling as it was, none of the neighbors reported what happened that night. Not the fire that rose above their heads, not the sound they heard, the sickening smell, or the symptoms that followed. For Gaines, the symptoms included an intense, sudden headache, tearing eyes, a runny nose, and congestion that made it difficult to sleep and lasted into the next day. On April 13, 2000, Charlton Pollitt residents asked the EPA to force the state of Texas to revoke a permit it had recently granted the refinery to increase operations. The law requires the EPA to acknowledge receipt of a complaint within 5 business days, conduct an investigation, and send the complaint's preliminary findings within 200 days after that. After one response 3 years later, a promise to investigate, the federal agency devoted to protecting Americans from environmental threats did nothing to revoke the permit. Did nothing. And understand something. I want you to understand something. LeBron James is like the decadent veil. Don't we talk about that? You want to sit up there and watch that. You don't want to necessarily do politics or whatever. You want to talk about him. I don't have no problem with people having pastimes. But see, the thing is, we live vicariously and aspirationally through these people. I don't have any problem with him doing whatever he do. But you can't breathe. This stuff is causing cancer. You can't live through LeBron. As a matter of fact, that sort of aspirational, vicarious living is your problem. It's a big part of it. And here's what they say. No point in complaining, he said, looking out at the row of modest houses across the street. A block and a half from Gaines' house, the street ends in an Exxon Mobil refinery that processes sour crude oil that contains high amounts of sulfur. The process of removing the impurities and refining the oil into gasoline produces sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and other gases that can cause respiratory, neurological, cardiac, and other serious health problems. Those gases also give the neighborhood a rotten egg odor that occasionally wafted in with the warm breeze as Gaines sat on his porch. In Charlton Pollitt, flare events like the one Gaines and his neighbors encountered that night, in which the flames that usually burn on top of the smokestack erupt into smelly belches of fire, are regular occurrences. The flames burst so reliably from the refinery, some local kids treat them as fireworks. Some local kids treat them as fireworks. The plant releases at least 135 toxic chemicals, many of which, including 1,3-butadiene, butadiene, benzopyrene, and styrene are carcinogens, and the plant is regularly in non-compliance with the Clean Air Act. Yet many of the people I met on my recent visit to Charlton Polar said they felt there was no point to reduce the emissions. Let me tell you what people need to understand. When everybody tells me government this and government that, government is an entity, the only entity that can protect you from this. The only entity that can protect you from being poisoned by corporations is government. The only one. The only one. And you can say all day, ain't no point in complaining, because you think you got LeBron and you think you're talking about LeBron and LeBron doing it and he out there and we can do well. He makes you say ignorant things. Your belief in him, your belief in the decadent veil and what's possible makes you say things that aren't true. It makes you talk about LeBron more than you talk about who you're going to contact and what you're going to do. Because it looks to me, and I'm not trying to be mean, but it looks to me that you're dying anyway. What are you going to do in the years that lead up to your death of cancer from these carcinogens? And we have, as a group, as a collective, not just him, as a collective, we have failed this community. You know why? Because we're so concerned about electing a Democrat as opposed to what has this Democrat done for us. Forget about just electing a Democrat. What have you done for us? We give you our vote overwhelmingly. What have you done for us? Because what we're going to see in a second is it's not just, there's a lot of stuff that happened during Obama's administration that could have helped this community. And I Googled right before I came on the show, hey, has this changed? Maybe I missed something. Maybe this plant is closed and I didn't see it. This community existed, sniffing up carcinogens while Obama was in the White House. So anybody who tells you that just getting Trump out of there and getting a Democrat in there is going to be enough for us doesn't understand ADOS life in America. All 400 years. So let me just say this. Another quick clip about complaining. Why would I bother? Asked Gaines' neighbor, Rebecca Thibault, who is 64 and lived near the plant since she was 30 years old. Thibault was diagnosed with endometrial cancer and serious heart problems last year. When we spoke, she had just returned from chemotherapy and was resting on her couch. Thibault said she suspects pollution from the refinery may have caused her ailments. And it's certainly possible. It's certainly possible. The refinery emits carcinogens, and several studies have shown an increased incidence in cancer in people living near these facilities. Exposures to several of the chemicals the plant emits have also been tied to increased risk of heart disease. Like we don't have enough problems with heart disease. You put us in a plant and we have an increased risk. Now I want you to pay special attention to this, fam. Special attention to this. Between 2000 and 2016. Now pay attention to who was president during some of these years. Between 2000 and 2016, while the people who lived next to the plant waited for an investigation, the refinery emitted more than 400 million pounds of pollution into the air. 400 million. Read that again. You read it right. 400 million pounds of pollution into the air. Yet all those years, the EPA never once consulted people who were most affected. You know, we talk a lot. This is Obama could have done something here and he did nothing. Understand that as a Democrat, right? Also understand, we talk about how low our home ownership is, and that's true. But then a lot of people own homes. But then you ask yourself, what is the value of a poisoned house? You live in a place where they puff out, Exxon puffs out toxic gases. What is the value of that? There's no value in that. There's no value in that. So even the way we look at our homeownership rate, it doesn't make any sense. They put all the failure in our communities. And that's what we mean when we say the failure, we eat the failure. Literally here, they sniff it and ingest the failure, which causes cancer in their cells and all sorts of things based on this report. And we live that. And we say, well, if we just get a Democrat to replace Trump. No, Obama was there. Obama didn't want to take on Exxon. Prove to me wrong. Make it make sense. That's why we didn't move in terms of economically while Obama was in office. We didn't move positively while Clinton was in office. You got to give me a transformative agenda. You cannot just give me a Democrat and say, woo, we won. We got Trump out of there, girl. Yeah, girl, sister girl, we got him out of there. No, that's not good enough. You're not fooling me with that. I'm not stupid. And it's not just that. These are horrible stories. Understand, these are horrible stories of people who live in these communities. Horrible. And there are some people there. This is a man who lives in that community who are trying to do something different, trying to do something good. But listen, as a community, we have not understood who we are and that we have to get together in a collective to do something good for our group specifically. It's time to be selfish. And we had to put together boundaries. We didn't put together boundaries to be mean. We put together boundaries because boundaries are necessary. Boundaries are necessary if you are going to count the cost. If you are going to measure the cost of having come from slaves and the accrued disadvantage, boundaries are the thing that allow you to do that. And nobody else gets to tell us and decide for us what our boundaries are and what our boundaries look like. That's not your job. You don't get to tell me that. I don't tell you that. I don't get to tell you who is included and excluded in your group. And it doesn't mean that we dislike you or we hate. We don't do that. We're just counting. We're measuring. We get to do that. That's our right. You don't get to tell us no. Who do you think you are? And it's not just here. We see when you talk about, we just got to get Trump out of there. No, there's a lot of other stuff. There's a lot of other crises in our community that come well before just getting Trump out of there. So you see this here when you talk about health, when you talk about health outcomes, maternal when we talk about the education, what is this? Black, white, maternal educational attainment. But I want to show you this really quick. I want you to show you this. Most black middle class kids are downwardly mobile. Now I want you to look at these two charts. The one on the right says white middle quintile. The one on the left says black middle quintile. I want you to look at this spread. See the top Q and the fourth Q, they're all different color blues. The bottom Q at 40, that's the dark blue. Like you might as well say, like, I don't know if you say poorest or what. I don't want to be offensive, but just look at the spread. Like look at the spread of how white people are represented in that white middle throughout everything, right? And look at now we're a smaller group. We're only like, was it 13-14% now? Look at how they're spread like throughout the groups. That's what it means to have like a real class. We don't have that. We're packed into the bottom. Like I show this all the time, but this is what our life looks like. When you are this group, you don't have a choice about what you fight for. You have to fight for a transformational policies, for a transformational agenda. You don't get to go over here and just fight for something. Like it's an aristocratic thing to say, I'm just going to vote to get Trump out of there because it's how I feel. That's what aristocrats get to do. Well, I just think he's not good representative for the country because he's stupid. And because he's not statesman and he's just, he's doing very bad things. No, that's not the question. The question is, yeah, do that, get him out. But the question becomes, when you get him out, who is the group that's going to do something beneficial for us? We have an agenda. Who is going to move the needle on that agenda because we out here dying? That becomes the question. You know, America has 85 trillion in personal wealth. of which whites have over 75 trillion. All of Black America controls less than 2 trillion, with 1.5 trillion of the top of the two in the top 10% of Black families. The bottom 75% of Black America has nominal to no wealth. Can I tell you something? Nominal to no wealth. Let me tell you something. You can't be American because everything costs. You can't be American with nominal to no wealth. You can't. My health insurance costs a nice car note. You can't do it. See, we've entered into this thing where people feel like they can kind of piecemeal life together. Well, we always made something out of another. Not no more. America has perfected this thing. And while we still have some political power and political capital, we need to use it for us, not anybody else. For us, we don't have a choice. Somebody said income is not wealth in the chat. Amen. And for those of you, I saw this, somebody sent me this about reparations could begin with redressing the wrongs of the GI Bill. See, everybody tells us that like it's so hard. No, you can begin wherever you begin. You can begin with the families if you wanted to. You could begin with the families who were locked out of what the GI Bill gave to like white soldiers after they came back home. And you could give them that. You could begin wherever you want to begin. It is wholly possible to do reparations. Anybody who is telling you otherwise is lying to you. And it's easy to be Roland Martin to somebody like that if you sitting over there in a nice house or whatever, or driving a SUV and you don't got to deal with everything that everybody else deals with because you still got some CNN money or whatever you're doing in your life. Like, it's easy to be that if you don't have to live that and say, well, we just need some blah, 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 blah. And we just need some blah, 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 blah. And we just need a little bit. We just need a little push. You're out of touch. You're out of touch with the data. You're out of touch with ADOS, people who are not boule. You're out of touch with a lot of stuff. You're out of touch with, we talked about poison homes, but you're also out of touch. You're out of touch with our home ownership. By race, look at that green is black. Look at that green is black people. It dipped below Latinos. We've been here 400 years. What are you talking about? Like, what we should be advocating is for whatever we get, it has to go only to us. That's survival. We ain't even thriving yet. We're just talking basic survival. It has to go to us. We're talking redistribution, because redistribution should have happened a long time ago. It didn't. Not our fault. Y'all reneged on the 40 acres on the mule. It's time. It's time. I don't know what else to tell you. Look at this negative equity by race. Look at this. Look how low the white people are. Right? Look at black. Black is the green line again, way up here. All this negative equity. You got to fix it. That's what we're advocating for. And that line is going to be, like these lines we talking about, get more messed up as wealth continues to calcify, because we're not finished. They're not finished with us. It gets worse from here, not better. You understand that? It's not getting any better. It's only getting worse. It is what it is. Let me bring this up a little bit. You see that burgundy line? That's black. See that dark blue line? That's white. See the Latino line? We've been here 400 years. I want you to look down there. That's a flat line. You know what a flat line means when you're in the hospital and it goes flat? That means you just lost somebody, don't it? What do you think that means for us? Is everybody ready to get honest? And if you're looking for the article that has these charts in it, it was How Obama Destroyed Black Wealth. So you can just Google that and you can find it. I mean, it's not hard, but I just, it. And we're also, one of the things that people don't understand, if I can find this, I want to find this little piece. People don't understand that we're also having a lot of problems when you're the bottom caste group. What happens is this: everybody eats off you and does whatever they can because you're not protected. Like, the government is supposed to protect descendants of slaves. That's what's supposed to happen. So you have like this situation with this nonprofit hospital, which is just running around chasing people who never made any money. Right? Who never made any money. Let me see if I can find a clip. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can find this. Now, this is for those of you who get the newsletter. This was in the newsletter, like I think this past week, but it's a very interesting story about people who can't afford to get medical care, can't even afford to go to the hospital. Given her family history, high blood pressure, and newly diagnosed congestive heart failure, doctors perform a heart catheterization, threading a long tube through her groin and into her heart. Her share of the 2-night stay, $12,019. Barrett, who never made more than $12 an hour, doesn't remember getting any notices to pay from the hospital, but in 2010, Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare, Pepe Le Pew, sued her for an unpaid medical bill plus attorney's fees and court costs. Right? To cut a long story short, Barrett, 63, now owes $33,000, more than twice what she earned last year, according to her tax return. The only thing that kept me level-headed was praying and asking God to help me. ADOS life. So if you ask me, Yvette, what is more important than just getting Trump out of there, I've given you a bunch of answers. We have no life in this country without transformational politics. When they start charging you $33,000, like before they even added everything onto it, it was $12,000. So you go into the hospital now and it's a car. And it's a car because somebody's paying for it. It's a car because somebody has it to pay. And we don't have it to pay, and we built the whole country. You have to fix that. We have to demand that our government fix that. And anybody who tells us that we're wrong or we're selfish for not going along and getting along and taking the back butt end of the donkey doesn't want what's best for us. And we have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. We are trying to live and thrive in the country that we built. We have nothing to be ashamed of. We have an agenda. We have to have an agenda. We have to have a transformational black agenda. That's the only way we go through this next phase. Getting Trump out of there is not enough. And nobody, please, don't let anybody make you think. See, sometimes we do too much of, well, he got a point. Well, you know, she did say, well, maybe we can reach an agreement. Well, maybe we can meet, you know, kind of do it midway. Maybe we can. Maybe we can kind of find a middle ground. There is no middle ground on, like, us needing transformational policies to fix us. There is no middle ground there. We need what we need. America costs what it costs. No middle ground. There's no negotiation on that part. And any ADOS person who doesn't understand that doesn't understand what it means to be black in America. And I can't help you. I can't help you if you spend too much time in the boule or whatever. I cannot help you. That is not my problem. I'm so sorry. So, fam, we're almost at the 1 hour mark. I'm going to go take a quick break as usual and set up the phones, and then we'll come back and we'll have the conversation. I really want to hear from you, like, you know, if possible, maybe how you've been dealing with it online, if you've been online, and things of that nature. But, Do we really understand how dire our circumstances are? I see people online. I see, I told you we weren't gonna get. What you mean? What you mean? I told you y'all weren't gonna. What you mean, y'all? You broke too, Negro. If I could glance in your bank account right now, wouldn't be nothing in there. You got nothing in your own bedroom but some shiny shoes and ugly suits. What you mean, y'all? The data tells me you don't got no money. Unless you run into an aberration or a boule. What you mean, y'all? And even you have family that's like that. What you mean, y'all? I'll block you. I block people telling me, see, I told you. That's enough. Block. Finished. We finished. This conversation is finished. So anyway, fam, I'm going to set the phones up, call in, and we'll have the conversation. All right, family, let's get into it. This pre-holiday show, pre. I'm going to 646. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Miguel from New Jersey.
What's going on, Miguel? What's on your mind? I ain't even touched my notes today.
How you doing, Yvette?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Thanks for thanks for another great show. You posed a very good question about tonight about ADOS family and how we're doing out there online and pretty much fighting back some of the negative commentary from people that pretty much sympathize with a guy with a person like Roland Martin or whatever. But you and Tone brought up something 2 weeks ago that's very important. I think you have like 65,000 subscribers, and Tone has 50 some odd thousand subscribers, and a lot of those are probably crossover.
Yeah.
And Tone was right. We got to get our numbers up, because while I think the majority of your ADOS fam, we completely understand. You have erased the old way of Gen X, the way we used to think. We were brought up on certain types of theories and innuendos, and people just regurgitating stuff without data. And what you guys have provided is information that makes you say, wait a minute, we're not dysfunctional. No, it's not about us being lazy. We've been shut out and we've been targeted, but we got to get our numbers up, because I think I think Tone said, about 1 million people? If we could get like 1 million, I think that is going to be key in us exercising some political strength and getting our agenda out there, letting these naysayers know, hey, we're not playing. We're not just going to give you our vote for free anymore. Especially when you've been caught on camera, like Joe Biden, talking about the past misdeeds of our government and how we're going to fix it by incarcerating people, and then turn around 20, 30 years later talk about, well, I didn't contribute to that. I mean, that's absolutely they must really think the ADOS family is crazy.
Well, you know what? Let me just say this. Part of the problem is that, if I agree with Tone, and I agree with you, I've said as much here. There's not nearly enough interest in black politics, ADOS politics. There's not nearly enough, especially considering that we're a bottom caste. You would think that this would be what we live and breathe. And I've said that before, like, how did Tone and I not have at least like 1 million followers apiece? It doesn't make sense. And then somebody would be like, "Wait, Vic, no, you just trying to get paid." No, if I was trying to do that, I would go live like 4 times a day. There's what people do who really just trying to build up views really quick. They go live a lot, and you know who the people are who just go live all the time. This isn't about that. This is about like getting people together to mobilize in a very specific kind of way with a specific kind of mindset. And when you look at it, like, it's been a few years now, and I'm at like 64 or 65,000. That shows you that, like, if I were doing comedy or something, like, I'd be at like 1 million, or if I whatever. Like, it shows you that, like, we don't have an interest, a big enough interest. We have an interest because 64 or 65,000 ain't nothing, but it's not as big as it needs to be in order for us to kind of propel to this next level. And like, because we always talk about how you have to walk into a room. Like, a lot of people just, well, I want to be on the green room at Joy Reid's show. I want to be on the green room here. It's not enough to walk into a room. It's about how you walk into the room. People judge you by the people that you have behind you when you walk into that room. So if you're walking into that room and you ain't got enough people behind you, that's how you get treated. You get treated like you don't have enough people behind you. That's how you get treated. As an ADOS person, you got to be like, people got to be like, if we mess with Yvette and Tone, we mess with these millions that are behind them, right? And people don't understand that. That's why they were able to cut off everybody from MSNBC, all the Negro whisperers, because they didn't have any Negroes behind them. So nobody cared when they got cut off. You have to be a person who is like, listen, it's going to be really consequential if we mess with them. And we haven't gotten there yet. We haven't gotten enough people to really understand like what politics means in their lives, and like how everybody else is living and how we have to do it. So, we need to get there though.
and I do believe we will get there. I just wish we could get there a lot sooner.
I hear you. I appreciate you, fam. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. Yeah, I wish we could get that sooner too, but I work with the army I have. What that look? Remember what who was that said that? What did Ron Field said that when he mucking up the whole war in Iraq? I think it was here. I gave him tanks. I don't know. Anyway, let me go to the next caller. Hit the like button, fam, if you're in there. If you're in there watching, hit the like button. 251, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, sister. This is Audrey from
Hey, Audrey.
Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile.
And, yeah, Mobile, Alabama. Yep, ladies, Mobile, Alabama. My Twitter handle is Heavenly Melanated. I got into a Twitter battle with Roland Martin over the last couple of days.
Oh, child, wow.
It's just so frustrating. You know, he asked us, what does ADOS want? You guys aren't going to get reparations. He said, and I told him what he wanted, that this is not a purity test about Kamala Harris. That this is not about purity for Kamala, it's about a pure black agenda.
There you go.
I don't think I actually think he knows what we're talking about. That's what's so diabolical about this. He knows exactly what we're after. He knows this, but he still is trying to warp our message, and that's really disturbing to me. He knows exactly what we're talking about, because he responded to me and said, you guys are never going to get reparations. But he knows it's not about the skin color. He knows that.
But the thing is, here's the thing. What do you see? Here's the first problem, Colin. I'm gonna let you finish. The first problem is you guys. You guys are never going to get reparations. First of all, you're separating yourself from the group, which lets me know you're a boule, right? Which lets me know that you don't really see us all together as a group. Second of all, reparations isn't hard. What I just said before, you could start just with kind of the GI Bill. Like, I'm not saying that that's at the end all to be all, but I'm saying, like, you could start here. It's so not hard to begin to wrap reparations into whatever agenda you have. It's not hard. So what does it tell us about Roland? That Roland is working against us as opposed to with us, right? What does that tell you about who he is as a human? I mean, in terms of advancing an ADOS agenda. Like, first do no harm. I told somebody not long ago, I said, what he wants to do, first do no harm. Stop talking against me all the time. What's wrong with you? Are you crazy? Go ahead, Colin. I'm sorry.
And even Don Lemon. Remember Don Lemon's interaction with April?
Yeah.
Yeah, that really disturbs me, because you could tell by her mannerism and her expressions, she knew exactly what he was talking about. They're trying to exploit our ignorance. That's what they're trying to do. Because most Black Americans, we're just not as sophisticated when it comes to this politics. My own father is 78 years old. We grew up in the Jim Crow South. He had to sit on the back of the bus with my mother. She still thinks, she's like, Kamala is the best. I'm thinking, why would you think Kamala Harris is the best? I'm thinking, she says that, well, because she goes do stuff for all people. In your experience, you should be thinking about somebody doing stuff for you.
But nobody thinks
totally.
No other group thinks that way, though. That's our problem. No other group is like, oh, they're great. They're going to do stuff for all people. Like, everybody else is like, what are they going to do for me? And for us, that's so much more important because of what is old. So, you know, and what you said about April Ryan, though, I don't think April got it during that. When she was interacting with Dunn understood what we were saying. But people were so crazy, they came out and said, well, Dunn started this whole ADOS thing. No, Dunn actually was doing research. And actually did research to figure out what was going on. But I think April looked like she short-circuited. I think some of what we're running into online is that people are short-circuiting. Like, their minds aren't built to fit like this kind of ADOS narrative. It's only built to fit like melanin and non-melanated. Once you go beyond that, their mind isn't built to fit, and you can almost see the smoke coming out their ears. And that's what I saw with April Ryan. Well, she's a black woman, Don. I didn't say she wasn't black. I said she's not ADOS. I'm saying she's Jamaican and Indian. This is a birtherism. Birtherism. Like, it was just the wildest thing I've ever seen. She short-circuited. But I'm going to let you have the last word, fam.
I'm sorry.
I said I'm going to let you have the last word.
No, I'm sorry. I was thinking that April actually knew what I thought she knew what she was talking about. That they're actually trying to find a way for Kamala to hijack the Black American experience. I mean, I think it's really all a type of really conspiracy on the Democrats to try to make her sort of be an imposter, sort of, and to get our votes. That's what I think that they're trying to do.
Well, here's the thing.
I know that she's black. She can identify as black. I don't mind her identifying.
Yeah, none of us do. None of us said she. I didn't say she. I never said she wasn't black. Find me somewhere on the show. I said Kamala isn't black. I said she's not ADOS. That's a different thing. She black. I never said she wasn't.
Yeah, she's black.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's black.
That's fine. You can be black, Kamala. We never said you wouldn't.
Thank you, sis. Love you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And you're with forever.
We never. What? They said she's not black. They have a black purity test. What you went? Where you was? Nobody said anything about Kamala not being black. We said she's not. She doesn't have the cost of ADOS built into her because she's not a descendant of American descendant of slavery as an institution. That is a whole lineage from slavery and Jim Crow and Reconstruction and a whole bunch of accrued disadvantage. So America never built like a mass of like Kamalas. Never built, in terms of us. But so you go and get somebody with different backgrounds who looks like us, right? She's black, but she has different background, Jamaican, Indian father. She looks like us. And you say, here is your black person. Here is your ADOS person running for president. Because you didn't create me to run for president or somebody else. You didn't create that in me. You didn't give me that opportunity. I didn't have a scientist as a parent. I didn't have a Stanford professor. I didn't have two affluent parents. You didn't give me that opportunity. So you bring somebody in who looks like me. And then Kamala has a nerve to announce from Howard University, which is also my alma mater, and not have a black agenda. Our main thing is your agenda. Like you kind of cloaked yourself in ADOS-ness, right? And then you came out and said, I'm not doing anything specifically for black people. Well, uncloak yourself, dear, and just be who you are. Build your own political capital as like a black American with a Jamaican parent and an Indian parent, and build yourself out of that. You can't build yourself out of me. We had enough of that with Obama, just building yourself, singing Al Green. We talked about that last time. I'm going to 202. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing, Sister Yvette? Thank you for all your hard
I'm doing
work.
good.
My name is Fatima, and I'm calling from Washington, D.C.
All right now. I cannot complain. What's going on?
There's a lot going on. Again, thank you and Tone for your hard work. I graduated from an HBCU, the other HBCU here in Washington, D.C., University of the District of Columbia.
Okay.
That a lot of people don't know about. And,
I thought you was finna say Hampton. I was finna hang up.
Well, for me to sit back and see what has gone on here these past, I would say, 10 to 12, maybe 15 years in regards to reparations, is just a farce and an insult to our people. Our priorities have been out of place. I call them the Congressional Coon Caucus, has been betraying us for a very long time. They go run, hop, skip, jump, and cake for everybody else, but we're 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th in line.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to the CDC. And it's an insult. And I'm so glad that you, Dr. Garrity, Tone, along with many others, are exposing the fact that we never got the 40 acres in a mule. We don't even have the bootstrap to get started because of not having the reparation. And a lot of people don't understand how complex that is.
Yeah, you're right.
And we've gotten what? We don't have anything to start from. When you got a 400-year head start on people, how do you expect them to catch up?
And it's not even just a head start. It's what Antonio said a long time ago. It's not even like there was a race and they got a head start. It's like we were the shoes in the race. Like we were the shoes that white people wore. Like and like now you want to throw away your shoes. Right? And so like that's kind of where we are. We were the commodity, we were property, we were the thing that built wealth as slaves in this country. And now you want to you buried the cost in us for generations. You didn't have to have a nuclear plant that caused cancer in your neighborhood because we had it in ours. And now you want to bring in other brown people that look like us and kind of mask our failure and throw us in the garbage can. And that's kind of what's happening. And so we have to understand that in order to understand how we're going to navigate outside of that and for our own interest.
Exactly. If we don't do something now, we're not going to be here in the next 50 years. We're gone. Because unfortunately, this is the outlook, not our outlook, but the outlook of white society as a whole. We have outlived our usefulness. We are in America, but we're not a part of America. We've never been made a part of America. We've never really been made whole because, again, we never got the reparations. We never got what's due us. Do you expect people to work for free and not pay them? That's what happened. Every industry that we can name or think of in American society has been built off of our blood, sweat, tears, suffering, and death. So this is not just a thing about feelings or emotions. We are the proof. If there was no us, there would be no America. America wouldn't exist but for black people. So I feel like Riley from the Boondocks, you're going to pay what you owe. Simply, that's it, that's all. And we don't need to waver. We need to stay the course. And I would also humbly submit to your listeners, there's a book named My Face is Black. This is true about Kylie House. She was one of the first people to bring about the reparations movement. Long before so many other people, it was a black woman who helped get this whole thing off the ground that people don't really know about. And she was from Memphis, Tennessee. She ended up going to prison for starting the slave pension and bounty fund. But the book is called My Face is Black. This is true. So a lot of people should have that in their library as well. And I just want to encourage ADOS. Be selfish. Our time is now. If we don't fight now, we won't have a future. We won't have wealth. We will not exist in this country. It's all or nothing at this point. Thank you for letting me speak this evening, and love you.
No problem. Love you back, fam. I appreciate you. Yeah, wealth in the richest country in the world. People say, well, you know, it's third world countries they have or in undeveloped countries they have. Yeah, but you need more in the richest country in the world. That's what it takes for access. I didn't make it this way. I didn't build it, but this is what it is. I deal with the world as it is. I deal with the world as it comes. This is what you need. You need wealth to live here. You know how much a car costs. You know how much a emergency room visit costs. You know how much medicine costs. You know how much of them pumped up insulin costs. I'm not saying we shouldn't fight the cost of that, but I'm saying like you need the wealth of that's due. Like that has to happen. And I'm not saying it all has to happen right now. I can get in the room with anybody and we can come together. Get Dr. Darity, me, Tom. We can come together with a plan. You all just aren't willing to try. You aren't willing to do anything, and you're supposed to be Democrats. So I am going to 206. 206, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, sister, it's your man Mark Black Outcast Media, and I called in to check the purity test, and you still giving out the kids. I wanted to inject a little better because the caller, she brought the heat, and it kind of got me, on fire. You know how I get, right? But, sister, I wanted to say something real quick. I know people are concerned about maybe that our growth might be slow or whatever the case may be. But I wanted to let you know that I'm actually living proof that they should have hope. I've been broadcasting on YouTube for like 5 years almost, right? Okay. And before I was on some petty stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? Some pen after, we all black, this, that, and the third. But I was attending Cornell, Cornell University, right? With you and the Professor Tone. And at the first of the year, I actually shut that channel down, created Black Outcast Media, and it's been all ADOS all the time ever since, right? So my job, I feel like, is to carry on the legacy that you gave me, which is to make more me, to make more advocates. So even though it looks slow, even though it looks like we may not be making the progress, I want to tell the family to don't lose hope, because there are new voices springing up every day. There are people out there. I'm seeing people, get the actual boots on the ground. I just watched the video of some people right there in front of Mitch McConnell's house in D.C. right, holding up placards, talking about reparations.
Mm-hmm.
He drove through with security and dipped out. He didn't even want to face them. So we are getting ourselves out there. It's grassroots. We're not used to that, right? We're not used to developing from the dirt, from the ground up, and growing the thing and making it big. But I promise you, it's happening. Another thing, sister, that I wanted to address on, and I'm gonna let you chop, because you be getting it in. But I want you to talk on, and I want us to talk about, because you remember the thing that happened with that Dr. Anna, the Brazilian scholar or whatever, all out with all of that. I just wanted to remind us that even people that currently appear to be our allies, we still need to vet them, right? No permanent allies, no permanent partners, just permanent interests. You know what I'm saying? Because she really showed nothing but the most disrespect, just patent disrespect, and lack of intellectual rigor and honesty in her dealings with Dr. Darity. And I, for one, found it disgusting and just foul. And so I just want to remind everybody out there that don't be so eager to, like you say, sister, people respond to pressure, not applause. You feel me?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and let you address, the couple of items that I brought up. But I just want to say, as always, I'm your brother. I love you. Thank you so much for the work you do. You all that in a bag of chips, sister.
I appreciate you, fam. I know exactly, and I think those of us who pay attention to Twitter know exactly who he's talking about. What bothered me about this Dr. Anna character, it's first of all, I don't like people who get real hoppy when you block them. Like it was after Dr. Darity blocked her that she got real hoppy and upset. Like, that makes, to me, I feel a lot coming out of that. That's a problem. But the second thing is, you really didn't research. You really went on kind of like a rampage, like very unstable emotionally kind of rampage. And it felt like you were just bothered by the fact that one professor had been blocked by another professor, but you got yourself blocked with this demanding that another grown person do what you said. Anything that I have said about, like, we should be able to have a conversation about immigration levels, that has been my point of view. That has never been Dr. Darity's point of view. He has always just kind of undergirded our conversations and our demand for reparations with his data. He's never really even taken a view on immigration or anything like that. So for you to come at him like that, it was insufferable. And it was disingenuous, and it was dishonest. Because that's not anything that he'd ever done. Like, somebody pumps you up. I'm sure it was the battle rapper who pumped you up in the DMs, and you felt special, and you whatever. You went to run around and kind of, you needed to find some affection. You had been banished. And it was just very odd. But that's what I'm finding throughout the net. Like, I never really realized how many unstable people there were in the world. Like, I never really realized that. But there are a lot of people who are emotionally unstable. And that's why I tell ADOS, if you go out and you're canvassing, or you go out and you're doing a meetup, or you go out, please be careful. Because a lot of these people are not stable people. They short circuit real quick. And so you have to, like, do what's best for you. And you have to watch out for your own safety at all times. Because if you don't do that, you could get in a lot of trouble with these people who just snap. Right? And who just, you saw people, we see people that are online all the time on Twitter, just snap. Well, they'll be talking to you one moment normal. Well, I believe this. Next thing it'll be, F you, MF. I told you, you ain't what you think you is. And it's just like, they went crazy just that quick. No, they've been crazy. They've been crazy a long time. Okay, I'm going to the next call. Somebody said clout chasers. That's part of it too. A lot of people want to, like, get attention through us. We saw that with the other Howard professor. I don't know, Howard, what's going on with you? 313, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Gigi from Detroit.
What's going on?
I'm just calling just to fill everybody in. It's been a real ADO mess out here. I mean,
not a mess.
It's unbelievable.
Not a mess. Ain't been a mess, have
You
it?
got people coming from all sides. What was that you said?
I said, ain't been a mess, have it? It's been a mess out there in them Twitter streets.
Yes, it's hot on these Twitter streets. Buffy Wicks, she done fucked up.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Because, we done caught her. There's a lot of FEC violations out there, and we out here doing the work. And I feel like everybody needs to follow everybody in the family and retweet all of these grievances that we're filing. We need to get out here and really push that. Our agenda is everything.
I got you. I got you, fam.
Can you hear me? Our agenda is everything.
I feel
know
you.
what you're saying because I can't hear you on the other end, but I'm trying to keep it together. I just really hope that everybody keeps pushing the way that we need to push. Don't get discouraged because you have a lot of these naysayers and these detractors. You have to understand all of these people are highly, highly affiliated in the DNC. I mean, going through, even with Buffy Wicks, this is like Kamala's right-hand person. So when we came out and we were like, nah, Kamala is not ADOS. She's black, but she does not represent where we're coming from. They had a problem with it because we called them out on their stunt. The whole debate was a whole stunt. We saw that through Marianne's tweets and all the information that's out there. The DNC is just a big shit show, and we have to clean that up. And it's our responsibility as ADOS to do that. Nobody else is going to do that. This is our party. We've been voting with them for God knows how long, and they owe us, and America owes us, and we have to keep pushing.
Thank you, caller. I do appreciate that. That was a wonderful call. I appreciate that. Keep pushing. And don't get frustrated. You can't get frustrated by somebody, a virtual person, these virtual people. These virtual people would not say that they ran up to you. See, that's the difference between me and Roland. Like, I try to keep stuff, like, if you annoy me enough, I just block you. I don't call you names and all that stuff because that creates an environment of hostility. I'm not to leave. I don't do that. I talk to people. What I say to you online, I will say to you in your face. Everything I say to you online, I will say to you if we were right in front of each other. Which means that if I feel like I want to say something that's going to really dig into you, I'm probably just going to block you. I'm not going to say it. Because it's dangerous to say it. Because we're all real people. And that's kind of how Thompson got into that thing. You can't treat people that way. You have to have a certain amount of self-discipline in terms of how you deal with people. Because this is the real world. I said before, I've run into a lot of people I've had disagreements with online. And I see them, but I ain't never called them no name. I ain't never say you a dumb MFer or you ain't whatever. I've never said that to you. So when you walk up to me, even if we disagree, it's not the same energy. People are making this into something that could end badly and should really tamp that down. Like Roland and everybody else, y'all should really start showing some maturity in how you do things. Because I don't know if you can move like you used to. And we don't want anything bad to happen. I discourage violence, and I told everybody to keep your hands to yourself. But we should really tamp down the rhetoric. And Roland, I think, is being very irresponsible in how he engages people on Twitter. And I'm telling you all, please do not do that. Please do not get caught up in how Roland antagonizes you on Twitter. Or how any of these other people antagonize you on Twitter. If they antagonize you, block and walk away. Like, do not get caught up in this elementary school stuff that they do on Twitter. It is not beneficial to anyone, anywhere, at any time. So please understand that. Please maintain yourself on Twitter. It is not, if somebody gets you to the point where you feel like you want to talk like Roland and be a potty mouth kid, walk away. Just block them and move on. You don't need them in your life. You don't need that frustration in your life either. You don't need that kind of antagonism in your life either. And you're better than that. Just because other people are not doesn't mean you can't be. So I'm going now to Alexander is absolutely a friend of the show, but we are not in the same arena when it comes to that. You know, that is it is what it is. It is what it is. That's why, I have to look away. I'm an agenda-driven person. I want us to be agenda-driven people. So fam, I'm going to take one more call. Let me see if I can get one more call. Let me see who we're going to take in here. Let me go to 785. 785, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette. This is Joan from Topeka, Kansas again.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, I'm good. I'm suited and booted. Ready for the fight. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you asking.
Good, good. First let me say that thanks for taking my call. I forgot to thank you the last time we talked.
No problem.
I just had a couple quick things for the family.
Okay.
Again, you know, my grandmother had a saying, and she lived to be 100 years old. And she used to tell me, you know, the worse you do some people, the better they seem to like it. And I was just thinking about that when you were talking about some folks just being crazy. And part of that has to do with we really don't understand the extent of our psychological damage. You know, we can go back to all the physical things that happened to us, but we were damaged psychologically and emotionally in a lot of ways that we still carry generationally. And part of that legacy and part of what we see today with these naysayers and Negro whisperers and all this other stuff, random coons and what have you, part of what we're seeing is a syndrome of that stems from slavery, of us being other-directed and focused on other people. And at best, we're all inclusive. That's where we get that joke about man say is we sick.
we sick as we sick.
We've been conditioned to think about everybody but ourselves. Now that's not an excuse. Don't get me wrong. Don't anybody get this twisted, family. I'm just saying that I work in the mental health field and I see, sick people every day. And our damage is, and this needs to be part of our agenda too, part of our reparations. They need to pay for psychological therapy because part of our damage is so deep-rooted that we really even can't even put a name to it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making any sense?
You're making sense. I always said the lineage therapy was a part of what we had to do. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad to agree with you then on that. The conversation is right on point tonight, by the way. And just like one of the previous callers said, please don't get discouraged because we're out here. We're here.
No, I see you. I appreciate it, fam. I see you.
I've been tweeting all this.
I see everybody out there, but y'all the ones who don't get discouraged. Y'all the ones I worry about getting discouraged because some of y'all be out there a lot. I wonder if you take naps. Take a nap, walk away, walk with the dog, play with the cat, kiss the baby, whatever floats your boat.
Well, we get that in, but we're putting in the work too. I just want to let you know, we're doing it, and we're going to get this thing. I'm an old woman, and I've seen a lot, and we're on the right path. We are. ADOS is we're going to do this thing. It's going to happen. I don't care what white folks have to say. I don't care what these Negroes have to say, or these imitation immigrants. I'm not interested in none of that because they don't have the expertise, quite frankly, to be telling us about us.
True. True.
So anyway, I just wanted to thank you, give you just heads up and let you know that you're doing the job. It's getting done. It's going to be slow. You said all along it's not that we're not going to get a check next week, but that's not the point. The point is we are going to get it. We are going to get reparations. I just spoke it into the universe.
All right, fam. I appreciate you. As always. I appreciate you calling in with your knowledge and your wisdom. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, fam. We about at the end of this one. Please hit the like button. Do whatever else you want to do. Go to subscribetobrown.com if you have not already. Please, you go to donate Brown. You go to Patreon. Patreon.com/WattCarnell. All of that good stuff. I appreciate y'all. Hit that like button though. Cost you nothing to hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. Hit the bell if you haven't hit the bell. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Remember that I'm not even gonna put the image up. Remember August the 1st, we're having our first, what is it? Not first, like what's it? Third or fourth? Book club, how the Irish became white. We're gonna do all that. So fam, we'll be back here if Alexander didn't cuss too much. So we will talk soon, family. Enjoy your 4th. Enjoy your family if you are off. Relax. Engage in some self-care. And we will talk again soon.